Hello boys and girls, welcome to a video lesson called Supporting Your Argument, Codes and Meanings. After watching this video lesson, I'd like you to learn how I evaluate and grade your argument essays, and I'd like you to learn the parts of an argument essay and how to include those parts in them. In class, we'll be having this lesson as well, but this video lesson allows you to A, have an advanced kind of learning or have advanced knowledge of what we're going to study in class, and B, it allows you, after we do our studies in class, to go back and use this to help you write your essay. So you'll notice on your papers that I have these letters on your argument essay, P-R-E-Q-I-N-T. Let me tell you what they stand for. P is for position stated. R stands for reason given. E is for evidence used to support reason. Q represents quote from text used to support evidence. I means interpretation written to show what evidence or quote means. T means transition out of paragraph. That's what they mean. Let me explain to you a little bit more in detail what they mean. And then we're going to take a look at an example of me doing these types of things in my essay. Okay, so P means position stated. I have to state a position, and I'm going to show you in my essay where I state my position. This is my introduction paragraph, and somewhere in my introduction paragraph I'm going to state my position. P for position stated. I check to see that you do the same thing. Well, at the beginning of my introduction paragraph, I've got two sentences that provide background information to the reader to give them some history about the topic. That's not my position. My position is here. I believe that Christopher Columbus was helpful to the world. That, boys and girls, is my position. And I expect you, after you write your background information in your intro, to write your position. Okay. The next thing I check for is to see if you give a reason for having your position. And I do the same thing here. Here's my reason for why I believe Christopher Columbus was helpful to the world. I write, reason 1, his exploration started important trading. That's the first reason I have for why I believe Columbus was helpful to the world. Okay, and I write, in addition, Columbus's exploration helped people in Europe. That's the second reason for why I have the position that I do. So you can see already in my essay, I've stated my position and given my reason, and they're given in the introduction paragraph. Now you're probably wondering, what's this last thing in here of this introduction paragraph? This is a transition. It gets me out of the paragraph. Without Columbus's exploration, the world wouldn't be the same. Every time you end a paragraph, you'll need to have a transition to get you out of it. And that's what this is, a transition out of the paragraph. Now you'll get a chance to see some more of my writing as I move to actually defending my argument. My goal is this. I have to support this position. My position is that I believe that Christopher Columbus was helpful to the world. So what I have to do is I need to use evidence from the text, I need to use quotes, and I need to show what the quotes mean in order to defend this position. Ultimately, I have to prove that Columbus was helpful to the world. That's my goal. And when you write your essays, you too have to be able to think this. Think this. I have to prove my position. That's what you have to do. Everything you write has to be related to this word helpful. You know, you'll notice that I have the word helpful in my essay a few times because I'm trying to prove that he's helpful. So you need to use evidence that shows that Columbus was helpful. You need to have quotes that show Columbus was helpful. You need to make meaning out of your evidence to show that Columbus was helpful. This is what this essay is all about, showing that Columbus was helpful to the world. So let's take a look here. This begins with Christopher Columbus's exploration started important trading. What I just did was I wrote my reason again. I'm explaining to my reader, this is the reason. Here's a reason. Everything in this paragraph is going to be related to this reason. Columbus's exploration started important trading. So here is my first reason. You'll notice it goes with this reason that I introduced. Christopher Columbus's exploration started important trading. Notice in this paragraph I don't give my position. I just save that for the introduction paragraph. But anyhow, so I said my reason. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use evidence to support my reason. Remember, my position is that he's helpful to the world. I'm trying to use evidence and I'm trying to use reasons evidence, quotes, and interpretations to prove that he was helpful. Let's see if I do it. So, reason. Christopher Columbus's exploration started important trading. Now I need to have evidence to support this. Here's my evidence. Trade goods were able to move from the eastern part of the world to the western part of the world. We read about that. That, boys and girls, is my evidence. This is in my own words. I did read this in a textbook, my social studies book, but this is in my own words. So I have my reason, I have my evidence, and now I'm going to have a quote. The quote is going to support this evidence. So you might say, well, did you really read this in a textbook? Sure I did. The text states on page 136, the Columbian Exchange had begun. This was a movement of people, animals, plants, and diseases, and way of life between the eastern and western hemisphere. Things like horses, cattle, sheep, and pigs were brought over by Columbus from Europe to the Americas. Page 136 in the Building a Nation text also states Europeans brought horses, cattle, and sheep and pigs with them. And it goes on all the way till here. This is all of my quote. Now let's think again. My position is that I believe Christopher Columbus was helpful to the world. So I'm going to use a reason to show that he was helpful. I'm going to state evidence to show that he was helpful, and then I'm going to get a quote from the text that supports my evidence. I want you to notice something here. My reason is related to my position. My position is that he's helpful, so I'm going to try to use a reason that shows he's helpful. Columbus started important trading. Then I'm going to use evidence that's related to my reason. Trade goods were able to move from the eastern part of the world to the western part of the world. Notice trade, trade. Okay? Now the quote that I use has to be related to my evidence. My evidence is about Columbus doing trade and allowing for goods to move from the eastern part of the world to the western part of the world. This quote from the text is all about trade and goods moving from the east to the west, different animals and plants and things. And you'll notice I have a quotation mark here to start the quote and a quotation to end the quote. So now I've done reason, evidence, quote, and now you're finally going to see me interpret my evidence and quote and transition out of the paragraph. So what is this then? I write, this means that the Americas didn't have these resources, and because of the trade Columbus did, the Americas now had new resources in this part of the world. This is an interpretation. What I'm doing is I'm showing you what my evidence means. It's an important thing to do. Let me actually make it a different color here. I'll make it kind of like a purplish color. Okay, so this goes with my quote. I'm trying to show you what my quote means, and I start with a phrase like this means. You're probably wondering, what's the this? It's the quote. If I wanted to, I could actually, to be more specific, I could say the quote means. If that helps you understand that you've got to interpret your quote, write the quote means. Because after you write the quote, you have to show what the quote means. But again, I'm trying to show that Columbus was helpful, so it might make sense for me to write something like this. The quote means that the Americas didn't have these resources, and because of the trade Columbus did, the Americas now had resources in this part of the world. I go on to say he was helping each side of the globe get each other's resources. This is also part of my interpretation. See, I'm trying to show, if this were a courtroom, the jury, that my evidence, my quote, I'm trying to show them that it means he's helpful. So I even used the word helpful in there. He was helping each side of the globe get each other's resources. So the job of the interpretation is to show your reader or the jury what your evidence and your quotes mean. And you want to show them that Columbus is helpful, or whatever your position is. And so I write, he was helping each side of the globe get each other's resources. Finally, I'm going to write a transition so I can get out of the paragraph. And I write this. Oh, actually, this is part of my interpretation as well. My evidence also shows that Columbus was able to spread plants and animals to new ecosystems. Doesn't that show you that he's being helpful? See, I'm trying to manipulate my interpretation to make it sound like he's helpful. My evidence also shows that Columbus was able to spread plants and animals to new ecosystems. So, reason, evidence, quote, interpretation showing what the quote means. Finally, here's my transition out. In addition, Christopher Columbus was helpful to a certain group of people. I'm getting out of this paragraph and I'm trying to go to the next one now. My next one is going to be all about Columbus being helpful to a group of people, and this transition out of my first paragraph will take me to my second paragraph. Okay, that's it for this lesson. You're going to have to use this lesson a few times this week, next week, maybe throughout the year, in addition to other ones, to really understand how to write an argumentative essay. Thanks. Oh, by the way, please respond to the question I post with this on our Google ELA classroom. Thanks, bye.